T minus 2 minutes. Today I have a lot of things that I was guided right away with making sure we go more into the Kathara Grid that we talked a little bit about last week. We barely touched it. Spirit wanted us to really do was to experience it, because it's beyond what we can look up of what we're going to pull in on anything we ever discover. And so they're really adamant that we acknowledge today that we are working as light, that essentially, if I was to say, who's your team of light? You know, if you could say, well, I don't know, well, you can see the physical manifestation of a team of light here. And so we're going to go real etherical, but I just want to keep bringing it back home to, we are the team of light, and we're grounding here again. So a theme has been, we started the higher self therapy, hypnosis training again, certification. If you didn't do it here, whatever Saturday it was, we have people who want to practice on you, so we want to do a lot of these types of hypnosis sessions. And there was an odd number of people in the class, so I got to lay down and be put under. And immediately higher self-consciousness was just very deliberate about, look, it's time to land. And you all need to really up your ante on confidence as the team of light, and be confident so that concentric circles can birth around the center so that we literally can land. That we've been off planet for, far too long, and it's time to arrive. Like, really. It's time. And to then, what we all have been talking about for months now is birthing this new earth. But they really wanted us to talk about the team of light, and then beyond the etherical team of light. So we'll definitely leave at least like half an hour today to do a deeper dive meditation, looking for a team of light that you possibly work with, to acknowledge their presence, and then to acknowledge that you could have actually realized, like I just said, that we were actually it. Like, here we are. So, and then beyond that, because we're coming from the one, it's all you. Like, all of this is you. There's only but you is here. We just seem to look at the others and think there's just so many other people. But the one came to the two, and it kept splitting. And so we're coming from this one grand poopah of pure consciousness energy. So I got the pleasure of Madette putting me under before you all got here. I made sure I left an hour so I could fully get back in my body. And, I did 4 travels, and it was all about what we're going to do today. And the last part is I fully dematerialized into that space where I am off planet. And I was like, okay, like, it's so time to get back down in. And as pure consciousness, there was such a density to it and there was nowhere to go, because here I am, all pure consciousness, no form. And it was like, okay, I really want to come back in and be rebirthed. So, if you've ever found yourself in hibernation, literally, whether you thought you didn't put it, you weren't the one who actually put you there, maybe you feel like some authority did. Whatever kind of, maybe you're in timeout as a child. Or you, like I've said before, I took myself off the grid with all the paperwork and, becoming a sovereign. And you literally were like, okay, can I come back in on the game? Because there's nobody here. If you've ever found yourself where you're out in pure consciousness at whatever level I just spoke about, and you're alone, you want to come back in. You actually really want to be here. At whatever level you've got footing in, you want to show up and be present. So when you find yourself, there's no distance. There's no location. Only location there is what you believe there's a location. So when you find yourself in a weird location, even if it's just a mental location, because it's all mental, Meaning this rising, I'm like, it's probably 3 or 4 a.m. and I'm like landing from dream space, pure ether, and I'm noticing some weird locations that I possibly could be going into, connected to the others in your life. So pretty much everyone you're going to see, if you're not having fully processed dreams of your past, you're typically having dreams of your next 24 hours, of things you're going to experience when you land back in the body and walk the avatar around. And whoever you're going to see, you're usually going to start sifting through their headspace, when really it's just your perception of what their headspace would be. So it's where you're pigeonholing people and memorizing others to be the versions of them that you memorize them to be. Then you will see them the next day and they will be that version of them. So whatever you think you're looking out of, meaning if you don't realize that all of this is your projection for you, through you, by you, even if I look out right here and I see Madette, I can still come through her channel and look out her eyes. And I would, if I didn't understand all this, I would just think, oh, I'm telepathically picking up what Madette's thinking. But as you start to level up in the game and you understand that there's only one of us here, then you realize that you have a grand responsibility to start allowing everyone to be awesome, allowing everyone's thoughts to be awesome, and to start seeing everybody being awesome thinkers. Because that's what's creating the mental plane. The causal plane is the effect, causes the effects. It causes the material plane. Cause and effect, that's what causal being is. The thoughts that you have are the causes that mentally ground down the effect in a slowed down, frame by frame reality check. All this is we're just perceiving out these two eyes, time. Frame by frame, and we perceive it as, we lock it into solidity because we memorize that that chair should look like that. And you should look like you're doing this. That I memorize that. But really, when I get out of the two eyes, I expand into space. Everything shifts. It doesn't look, we lose this kind of, systematic, cookie cutter linearity of the experience goes away. An example I just gave. This may be TMI. I don't shave my legs usually. I put shorts on yesterday. It was hot yesterday. My legs were hairy. My daughter's sitting next to me. I was like, Mom, you really need to shave. I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about it. She's like, yeah, you should really use again, this is TMI, but whatever reason I just told the story, I'm telling it again. Gives a little bit more texture. I think I'm going to use like an electric razor because it's long hair, So I go outside today, and my daughter says, you really should use the electric razor first. You're going to get that razor all stuffed up. So I go outside and I start and I turn away and I get told to go out there. They said, we want you to go outside this morning because there's going to be a lot of really amazing things happen. So I go out there, I look at the cardinal. I'm like, oh, the cardinal, maybe that's part of it. I look down, it's already done. My legs were shaved. I jumped all the steps. So to be able to give you guys a real example about this topic of what we're talking about. So coming back, when you can allow yourself to know there's only one of us here, and that, yeah, you get bored. So yeah, you birth a lot of characters. Otherwise, it really is boring. You guys have been alone, right? It's like, oh my God. So my point is, okay, coming back to the dream. So I'm waking up lucid, I'm stacking down in, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Seeing the other people in life, it wasn't you all's family. And I realized I was memorizing them to have a different day than I would want them to have. So I just want you to give you really tangible things that you have the ability in these moments of so-called, when you're coming out of deep REM sleep and you're waking up and you're lucid, maybe you got to pee at 3 a.m. or something like that. That is your prime time to really prep your day and make it amazing. You're birthing a new earth. You have a responsibility if you want to do that. You don't have to. It's already birthed. You can just be along for the ride. But if you really are, taking mental note as you're coming down and you notice weird stuff, or maybe you remember you're recalling your dream. You're like, oh, that was a weird dream. Then make it better. Totally flip it. Revisualize it all over again. You don't have to go over all the details. You don't have to think about the things that you don't want to happen. Just see them smiling happily. And then you may do some like pullouts. So this is what I do. I imagine like this big, almost like a motherboard chip, but it also could look like seaweed. It could look like tentacles. It could look like any kind of imprint or stuff. And I just imagine everything in your body that would ever have you thinking that way. I'm pulling it out. And I pull it out and I send it back to source. So I clean the grids of those, and then I ask what plane would be best for them so they can have an amazing day. Typically for the past like 6 months or so, it's been plane 12, but today last night they started on this. They're like, we really want you all now to start being on plane 9, which is where the higher self is, so that you all can have more interactions with more like-minded beings as you guys are grounding heaven on earth. So, before I go too far in that, does that make sense? Right? Carol? Does it make sense? So, I also want to just come back and remind us that when we bring in the numbers, if you just at least know your typical energy centers, you can use that keyword that you know to help you understand dimensions, realities, planes. Don't let it go like, oh, I don't know what that means. Like, dig, okay, my consciousness, are you saying that plane 9 has to do with the higher self? That's what I did. I literally did a little digging about what would go on there. Oh yeah, you'll get to have more interactions with people. There'll be more people showing up to connect to the new earth and ground the new earth. Oh, okay, great. And I said, well, what was going on at plane 12? Why'd you have us so much at plane 12? And they said, well, you guys are figuring out source seat again. You needed everybody to understand that they were projecting the reality from the singularity, from the one, where source is, source B, and then projecting that to be the reality. So when you're doing the mountaintop work, like you're typically up at the high channel, like you're meditating, right? You're up at the high channel. So you're at that strong high, we would look at maybe the 7 of the pineal gland, but we're going up to plane 12. You're going above to the high channel. And you'll notice, like I'll even notice, I occasionally drive down Florida Ave right here in downtown Palm Harbor. And this happened a lot over COVID too. All the windows are like paper bagged. There's nothing there. They literally have paper bags over the windows. And when talked to consciousness about that, they said, yeah, that's plane 12. Like they're still under construction. There's nobody there. So as you all build it out, that world builders, right? When a group of gods and goddesses got together, every so often we build worlds. You can look at all the big stones, some of these kings. God, some of these kings, I just found one, I think I reposted it. They were like in rulership for like over, I don't know, it was in the 5 digits at least. 30,000 years. I mean, they literally have all the names all the way down to kings that you know of recently. That, these prophetic stones are out there showing you the long leadership of a group of gods and goddesses getting together to world build. Do we understand? Mm-hmm. Essentially, as well as we're getting into these next level realities of the golden age, which, if you're in access consciousness, they'll call it a pico universe. Where there's just more of this like kind of, it's a universe where there's not a lot of necessarily souls. There's a lot of NPCs. You're like living in your own little perfect little world, and you just have like a handful of souls. So if you have near-death experience and you follow Darius J. Wright, anybody follows Darius? He teaches OBE, not near death. He teaches OBE, out-of-body experience, how to do that. And he shows with all his students a lot of the same paintings, imagery, and scenes of, when they get out of body, when they get out of the avatar, so you can do this. You're just laying there when you're laying down, imagine yourself get out of your body and then go walk around. I asked for that to be shifted. They told me a download about that. Want me to go into that? It's still a memorized material, that, especially when we get to something that would make you go, oh, really? I could do that? Like, what did I just say? You can get out of your body and walk around. So as you get out of your body and walk around, a lot of these people on his imagery, I'll put it in the group, is that you'll see the main dome of Tara, Sophia, Gaia, Arya, and you'll see the layers of like usually a 12 he puts. But then off to the side, you'll see all these mini domes where people are birthing their own little worlds. And he says you can go kind of play in their domes. So, okay, coming back. Does that make sense though? Any questions about that? No? Okay. So you can get out of your body, look around. What my point about that was, you have all these capabilities. And why would you want to get out of your body? To look around.
To have the experience.
To have the experience. To see what's beyond here.
To experience more expansion.
To experience more expansion. Have any of you had sleep paralysis? Where like you trying to get up and you can't get up, right? That's usually a sign you're about to go into an out of body. Or have you ever been where you really felt expansive, but you wanted to get back in your body? Maybe like you had too much of a brownie. Hot brownie.
Too many gummies.
Too many gummies, right? You're like, why did I do that? I just want to get to the point that if you had an experience where you wanted to get back in your body, you have these experiences to get out, but yet you still want to get back in. And why do you think you want to get back in the body? I've said it. Nothing's coming to you. Huh?
To come back to life again.
To come back to life.
And I feel like to apply the things you learn. Right? The new understandings, and then play in this realm differently.
Yeah.
I'll say you came back to, because there's like more you need to learn. Like you have to experience more here.
And there's this sense that the higher self really does want to come here. Mm-hmm. Because it's got the physicality to it, right? It seems like it has more moving parts that are what you don't have there. Right? The pleasures of like taste, possibly. Darius says that you actually have more pleasure of the physicality there. That your light body is more physical than it is here. More taste, more sensations than we realize. Anywho, coming back. So it's just, we're curious about, okay, we come here to master, to experience, to put to the test the practices or things that we've learned. And if things don't seem, like I wanted to get rid of that siren. Yesterday I brought it up. It was a key moment. I'm blissed out. I'm out in the backyard. And right when I get to these bliss points, I'm like, what is that? And they said, well, you have it still memorized. There's so many times, you guys, there's so much build out of thought and experience of that happening, not only for you, but for your perception of the collective. Meaning, if I'm looking at, there's only one of me here, I have to remember that I could say that my neighbors are all thinking that, but are they really? I perceive that they're all thinking that.
We say we're shifting the matrix.
Yeah.
In
So,
that moment when you got higher than the collective, you shifted the matrix. Just like when you're talking here, it shifted the whole matrix. We hardly could hear that.
Yeah.
Because we were with you in this realm. it was just going on out there, and it caused us to pay attention to it, but we're in the shifted matrix.
Right. So then we say what's right about it,
Mhm.
and that's what's right about it.
That's what's right.
It's a pattern interrupt.
Mhm. It is a pattern.
So then we can celebrate it,
Yes, we do.
right?
Mhm.
But I still want it to go. But yeah, that's it. That's a key right there. Is these pattern interrupts. So, well, then we'll segue to this. Okay, this is the Hawkins consciousness scale. Also looked at the emotional scale, vibrational scale. And so David Hawkins wrote Power versus Force. It's a good book. It's a good book. What this scale, what came to my awareness this morning that they really were pointing out was that to look at this and to understand that, when we're looking at all these emotions and there's, you might find different memes that have different numbers exactly, but the one I found, this is what they, had posted. The way down low of shame and guilt, these are very low frequencies. So when we're shaming ourselves or shaming others, wave of like, what is that? Why did I even say that? Delete. And then we say that a lot in our house, delete. So, but you can see this low vibration, and then these are all contractions. And what I wanted us to look at is from below courage, that's like the contracted state, right? And it's like squeezing down, this low version you, any of this. But yet, as you go up the ladder, like if you're in fear and you move to desire, I thought that was interesting. Desire was there. And the reason I could kind of logically look at desire being there is because if you're desiring something, it's like you're in the lack. You don't have it. You're still acknowledging you don't have it. You're desiring it. Anyways, it's probably more of like a lustful desire. But fear, desire, anger, pride. So when you're in that, at least if you start moving up the emotions, like you notice, okay, I'm in anger. What could I be proud of about this? That I'm at least experiencing the anger. I'm like acknowledging that I'm not in alignment with this. That when you get to courage, that you're going to start to have that pattern interrupt. It's going to flip, and you're going to start to come into more of an expanded state. And when you at least get to courage, when you have the courage to address this, meaning if you find that, I talk about using a positive phrase rather than if you're thinking a negative thought or someone in front of you saying something that you don't really want to lock into and have any further reproduction of that. I will say to myself, I'll be listening to you, but I'm saying to myself, God is love. God is love. To help myself stay up high while still holding space and listening. If you can at least have the courage, though, to look at what about that is triggering you, right? And like go into what's the feeling you got when they're saying that? And then we come back to our Akashic record work of like, well, where did this conceive itself? If something happens, I'll use that. Where did that conceive it? What's the conception point of me not liking to hear that sound? Was it this life? No. Was it another life? Yes. Was it a seemingly parallel past life? Yes. Was it at my release of the soul? Yes. So I heard that when I was releasing? Correct. And you don't like hearing that because it means you're leaving. Yeah, and you're not done here. Yes. Okay. So when I get the information of conception, I don't run from it, right? I could have just been like, peace, love, dove, and like, da-da-da. But I'm addressing it right now. What did it make me feel? It made me feel a little fear. Even though I recoded it to meaning the emergence, the emergence of the soul is waking up. Somebody's like getting the help they need to wake up again. I do the conception, you find it, you find the emotion, and then I can get some understanding and I can desire to release any anger of that lifetime, anything that was going on to get me into yet now from the downward contracted spin to the upward spin. So we want to essentially pattern interrupt by addressing and looking at these emotions. So does anybody else have an emotion come up, or did that trigger anybody else? Just me? Yes.
Yes.
It did.
I used to live by a fire department, a block away.
Mm.
And those sirens were often as a child.
Okay, as a child.
Yeah.
And was that the conception point? This life of when you were a child?
I would say yes.
Okay. And what's a scene that comes up? How old are you?
There were several things that came up. I lived on a busy street in the intersection, and there were a lot of accidents there.
Okay. And how'd that feel?
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary because I, didn't want anyone to get hurt or feel discomfort or.
And can you ask your higher self what else you need to know about that?
That was their contract.
Okay. And can you help that little girl release that fear with a color right now? What color comes to mind? And let's all hold victory for her with the color she tells us. What color?
Pink.
Pink. Can we breathe that with you and see that lift? So if we could all just imagine that pink color and just breathe anything to help all the inner child. And then let us know if that's helping her.
Yes.
Yeah. What does she feel now?
Relief.
Good. Okay, excellent. And does that feel complete?
It's interesting because someone just showed up.
Who's that?
An angel, I believe.
Yeah. Do you know who it is? Does it feel familiar?
Yeah, sometimes she'll show up in different places unexpectedly.
Does she want to share anything with you? Or with us?
She says, "You are an old soul."
She's talking to you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And is that all she wants to share? Is there
Pardon?
more? Is there more? Or is that it?
Again, going back to there's so much love.
Mm.
Keep on going to there's so much love. There's so much love. And regardless of what's going on around or within where I am or where others are, the love is always binding everything, keeping it together,
Yes.
making it magical, making it
Yes.
wonderful, keeping it in a higher frequency for all to enjoy.
Yes. Can you thank her?
Yes. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for holding space. Does anyone else want to share before we go to the next? Yeah.
I grew up in inner city Chicago.
Illinois.
that was like-
I was going to ask, were you in Illinois? But there you
That
go.
was like where I grew up. I mean, it was constant.
Yeah.
So to me, because down here I don't hear it as often. So to me, I kind of had the opposite. It's like, oh, thank God, it's just one time. One time a day instead of like 50 times a day. So to me, I'm thinking, okay, so there's less people that need that. So it just, I don't know, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but I see it as because it's not, because I don't hear it that often, like I used to. To me, that's a blessing. To me, that feels like, okay, there's more people safe down here.
Yeah, it's always great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What's right about this? Yeah. And is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So they're pointing to me to just remind, like, the domes, you know, at the first Earth 1, there's a lot of that activity. In the blueprint that has been memorized, most of the collective, meaning there's no location, but what's memorized creates the location. So in Earth 1, the memory has strong imprints of certain things that usually have to do with survival. The coming down of civilizations, the birthing of civilizations, the beginning points. Again, if we're going to go to Earth 1, you can think about your own root energy center. You can first think about your physical body. Again, we can kind of tie all these together with the ones. But they're wanting me to remind us that you can also navigate as a spiritual electrician where you are when you hear the siren, or where others may be as like a walking angel, that if you hear a lot of them, you could literally be on Earth 1. You could be on plane 1, if we're going to call it planes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That makes so much sense because, again, where I lived, there was a lot of that stuff going on. So, of course, there was 1,000 sirens because of that. Makes so much sense.
And you may be called to go to inner cities or go to, you know, monuments and things like that to do cleanup. There's a lot of ley line cleanup, energetic imprint cleanup sometimes for us, you know, to do individually for the collective, as well as individually because you're projecting this reality for you first as the all. So if I go to inner city New York to do a cleanup, I could do it from right here. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to get on a plane. You know, I can just sit right here. But I may be called, Spirit's like, no, we need you to get in the car. We need to go there. Oh, are you kidding me? Why? Well, it's a journey. You're going to see a lot of people on the way. You're going to have all this physical experience. Anyways, if you get called to do a cleanup, then it's for you, for the all that are there, but ultimately it's for the greater one that you be, so that you can project a cleaner world. So sometimes you're going to these conception points where you have large anchors of your imprint, your memorized imprint material from the singular life of this incarnation and the collective of lives that you've had, or parallel lives if you're not looking at time. So just remember, like, these cleanups that you literally can just be doing. I mean, you don't have to go anywhere. Let's do that one. Okay, we'll do that one for New York. Clean it up, dissolve, dismantle, release anything and everything that's no longer necessary for the new world build out. And then I'm just like working with a lot of blues, a lot of red energies. And then now there's a team of light. Is this all of us here? Yeah, so there's a team of lights coming in. And we're like going to the earth core, or seemingly earth core, to the black sun. And then the black sun's getting an activation, and it's like doing the transfiguration, transmutation that's necessary. And now we're stabilizing it with the core love from the love technology that's here. So 528 hertz is activating anything else that's necessary. For the blue red lines, ley lines, yeah, ley lines. Okay, is that complete? Yes. Good. And then grateful for y'all holding space and that greater assignment. Right? And then now we've got it lifted to 528 hertz from my projector, because I'm sitting here, right? From your individual projectors as the one you be, you could have had a totally different experience than I just did, which if you had something you want to share, you know, who knows? Only you do. But from my perception of you all, I again said it out loud, I saw you all as the team of light, that literally like these huge light beings like holding space around New York. Anyone else see that? Or have anything with that just happened?
So, oh fudge. I had a candle, like I don't know, like a white, but it had the copper twisting around it. Just like a huge crystal maybe, or whatever. I'm not
Column.
even sure I know what it was, but it was huge. And then like the copper like that just wrapped
I see it.
around it like in...
I saw the red and blue ley lines like activate, and then it was like they lit up as they ran around the planet.
Yeah. Carol,
I just saw the white light.
you saw the white light. Yeah. Okay. So the topic, like I was at, is that you may be called to clean up spaces that are at lower planes, so that we can ground all the way through at all levels and not be segregating ourselves to like just being on top of the mountain at, plane 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, to be able to go everywhere and anywhere is the name of the game, especially at neutrality. So now I just want to speak to neutrality, that this is the emotional scale, but just holding the ability to hold neutrality, to be a witness, meaning you find yourself that you have footing at a lower realm because that's where you are. You're like, I'm going to this festival. I'm gonna go. And some of you, that may be Walmart. I don't know.
Avoid Walmart all the time.
Whatever memorized material you're projecting, that seems to be a lower memorized set of records and memory and imprint. When you can practice being a witness more often and going in and holding space, just walking through to get your toothpaste or whatever you're going there for, baking soda or something, and you see some interesting energies that make you go, if you can get good at just widening your gaze. So from fixating, try this. Like fixate on something, fixate on this picture, but then pull out of it and go and get wide behind your eyes. You could still see the picture, but you just pulled out of it. If you can feel what I'm saying, the subtleties, raise your hand. Yeah? Everybody? So that's a practice. To practice pulling your energy out and wide. It's not that you're out of it, it's just you're going wide into the wave. And when you can be in the wave and not particleize by fixating and focusing on the weird situation that you're watching with some family. There's a vision I just got. Some family having a weird situation that you're projecting from your childhood, but you think it's some just random family in front of you. And you fixate on it. Oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. And then you go home like, what happened? Oh, that was you and you're 10. Anyways, you're practicing neutrality. You're like, okay, I'm going to hold space. I'm going to pull out. I'm not being rude by not interacting with the situation going on over there. What could I do? I pull out, I open space. And by when you can hold neutrality, the Spirit want me to talk about, that you then collapse the whole grid. Everything collapses, and now you have the potential to sit at source seat and see something new. You literally could then go from neutrality, neutral. You turn, they're going to be hugging. You turn and they're hugging. You have the potential. You don't have to do that. But you could, because again, what is it helping you to do? It's helping to write your own world of why you're here, to come to peace, neutrality, compassion, forgiveness, of all the things that you still see that are on these lower planes are just projected by you. So when you get to collapse it back to a wave, they're not really there. They're just particleized players in your game. And yes, they're real souls. They could be NPCs though. They could be literally an apparition. But they really could be real souls playing parts for you. They're a team of light, that are showing up as a 10-year-old with the parents having a difficult situation. And you thank them. Thank you, team players. You turn, you hold neutrality, you see a dove, you smile. So you lift. Now you went from collapsing the whole field back into the quantum, being neutral, to all of a sudden, I love them, I love myself, I love all this, and they're happy. This is what you'll start seeing as New Earth way showers, space holders. Essentially, we won't even need to have that anymore because there's enough of us that have flipped the script. We're ready. We know who we are. Then I want to also bring in, I put on the post about Dolores Cannon, and referencing those who are practicing higher self therapy hypnosis to remember that when we do our exercises, or you're meditating or you're dreaming, if you go to lower scenes of this lifetime or past lives or seemingly parallel lives, it's typically because you're still cleaning up the karma, the loops around these lower emotions. These emotions have charged, literally created anchors and charged your particle of light, typically in the body and the fascia. So if you're finding your clients, or you're meditating, or you're dreaming and it's low, or you have a trigger and it's weird, or you go to Walmart and that weird scene happens, it's just these lower energies, these denser particles of light, these charged particles that are still seemingly going through karma loops. That's why the importance of this work, that if you just clean it up and finally flip the script and always say that everybody always loves you, they adore you, everyone in this whole existence gets along, you start making this world be a better place through your big grand thoughts of everyone, everywhere, always, everything. You will, as Dolores Cannon had put on this little short post that I shared, you will find your clients, your meditations, and your dream time will no longer be the low stuff. You will be in the most high. You'll be all up here. Your regressions, if you're doing hypnosis, will be people going to far off, star systems where they're holding up pure love, where they're literally helping those here on earth get out of these karma loops. You may go to Arcturian, Lyran, and not to say that they don't have things go on as well, Syrian, Palladian. You may go into pure space energy, pure consciousness. It's because this stuff has been cleaned up. Okay? Make sense? Okay, last topic before we do our, I promise, longer meditation, exploration. Can I do both of those? Do I do that one first? Yes. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a partner practice. And this partner practice is eye gazing. We've done this before. And there's going to be 3, this will be quiet. We're not going to there's no talking during this one. There's 3 exercises that Spirit wanted us to do to get our heart open and to get anything cleaned up here before we do the magic carpet ride with the team of light. And the 3 is to look, you're going to eye gaze with love, holding space, and to look with love to see God through Theodore, her eyes. To invite and to see, and if God's not the word for you, whatever that is, that pure source consciousness, to see God through her eyes. And we'll take some deep breaths. I'll ring a little bell, and then we'll shift. The second one will be to see myself in Theodora. To see myself in her. She's me. And then the last one, ring a bell, will be to see who she's been. Now, these are just intentions that I'm calling out. You may just have this wild experience. You're like, I don't know what just happened. Their face changed a bunch of times. I cried my eyes out. I don't know which one was which. But this is what Spirit said to do. Okay? It won't take long. Be a beyond time. So, this leads us into the assignment of the team of light. So I drew the about what we're doing is that your DNA essentially has multidimensionality to it. That when you are just looking at the 2 double helix strands of DNA, and that in Western medicine they call the rest of the DNA junk DNA, that when you go into the higher levels of metaphysical studies, you start understanding that the 2 DNA, two strands are actually, when you get into your higher energy centers and you're balanced and you rise into activating your subtle bodies, you're balancing your energy centers, meaning you're balancing your endocrine glands, you literally start to see the other strands of DNA. They're just, they're more etherical. They're there, you just don't see them. So that opening takes place in the full DNA, the full 12, and then if you're looking at, like I said last week, more DNA strands, there's potential even more as you rise into higher dimensionality and higher subtleties of yourself. Again, because we're coming from the one, we separate into the all, and then here we are having this seemingly earth experience that's essentially inverted underneath a dome. So, coming back, I don't want to get too technical. I just want to say that Spirit was adamant that we open up the 12th Stargate here again. And that we acknowledge that the mothership is landing. There is no distance. We've arrived. We know who we are. I know who I am. We know who you are? Right? You know who you are? Do you know who you are? Right? We may, it's a little bit, it's a big question. We maybe know who we're not, maybe you do, I don't know. Anyways, coming back. We're ready to arrive and know the I am that I am. I am that I am. I'm not a name. I'm not a number. I'm pure energy. I'm showing up particleizing in this experience. And I know that I'm not going to be pigeonholed. I'm going to do my best not to be pigeonholed into the lack of that which I'm not, or that which someone is telling me that I am. Right? That's where you start to become sovereign with your thoughts, and you start claiming the space and say, I am that I am. I'm a multidimensional being. Yes, I talk to spirit. Yes, I talk to my higher self. Yes, I am the higher self. All these things. You start owning it. You realize you're a world builder. You take responsibility that everything out in front of you, you're projecting. You want to see more than see more. See more. Get the message about the spaceship that you're in, right? It's a space. It's a ship. What is this spaceship doing? Everywhere we are is a spaceship. Our light body, our Merkaba, is a starship. So for the assignment, I'm gonna guide us in a guided meditation, and we're gonna ask for anything of your own realization of your multidimensionality, your DNA, any stargates to activate, to open, and be deliberate about that. And then I'm gonna ask for your team of light to come in. They're already here. I'm going to ask for you to tune in to what things want to say to you. I want you to really pull in some information. So today when we get out of circle, even if we go over a few minutes, I want everybody to have a message. I'm not putting the pressure on you. If you don't have a message, it's fine. But I'm just saying, hopefully you will. So let's go ahead and get back. So get comfortable. For those of you who are ready to go, start to take some deep breaths. And so some of those deep breaths, let any sighs go, anything, move your body in any way so that it can get very comfortable. If you want to lay on the floor, and we're going going to start to breathe up our spine. So go ahead and take a nice deep breath up your spine. As you get to the top of the breath, hold the breath slightly. Take your eye gaze inside your head, look up slightly. Exhale, let go of any sighs out the mouth or the nose, whatever you feel like it needs to do. Relax your body in the exhale. As you come to the end of your exhale, hold your breath outside of your body. Just hold your breath, hold your breath. Expand into space. Then take a nice natural inhale in, take it all the way in. Take an extra sip of air through your mouth. Hold the breath to the top of the head. Hold the breath to the top of the head. Take your gaze slightly up, smile, and then exhale, release. We'll do one more of those. Inhale it all the way up. Take a sip of breath of air in for the second, so you really widen the heart, shoulders go back and down, chin down and in. Top of the head rises as you look up and hold the breath. And then exhale, release, 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 release. Hold the breath outside. At the end of the exhale, hold the breath outside. Expand into space. And then just naturally breathe however you're guided. As you naturally breathe, I want you to go ahead inside in your own way and invite your team of light to surround and hold space for us. Hold space for your beautiful activation that is ready to occur in this now moment. As you invite your team of light to hold space, acknowledge behind your eyes that if light starts to flicker, it gets whiter or brighter, just know that these are they. Know that your smile can also accelerate your starship, land your starship from the way you move your facial muscles, as well as your breath. So if it feels like you need to go higher, remember your breath and your smile can lift and elevate. As we all have arrived here with the light beings present, also acknowledge that the light beings in the room that you call your other friends and body, acknowledge all them as well. As a beautiful tribe holding love in this space, we ask that you acknowledge that there's a beautiful Stargate, Stargate 12, beneath you. Although it may seem like the Stargate 12 would be called a location, acknowledge that it's beyond location. As you imagine this beautiful Stargate activating your source coding, giving you more ability to be more present, to acknowledge that that which is happening around you is for you and through you, by you. We ask that you hold this beautiful mandala of love to recognize that you are pure source love. This love light remembered will assist not only you and this tribe, but many others. Allow yourself now to acknowledge your own Kathara tree of life. This 12th dimensional grid that may seem like it's beneath you, within you, above you, or around you. What does this sacred geometry look like to you? This representation of your 12th DNA template, 12 strands or more, is ready to be facilitated and activated upon your command. Use your own inner breath and light to facilitate and turn on your multidimensionality, restoring, repairing, rejuvenating, reknowing who you really are what you really are. Use your imagination if it seems like anything needs to be moved, any rungs of the ladder, any strands stabilized with your breath. Trust and know that we are working for you. You can also facilitate and ask the team of light to assist in any way. As all of your 12 strands and more DNA are fully activated, today's guidance has been requested that you receive a knowing of a new gift. This new gift really isn't new. However, it'll seem new. Go ahead and facilitate with your own inner awareness to understand and acknowledge what this new gift is. For several of you, you've been asking for this gift to turn on. Whereas the collective of you now have more ability with your thought creation. Gather any deep knowing about what this gift does. Remember, dear ones, you can ask questions within. With this gift, for those of you who are gathering information and knowing about it, ask any final questions that give you any additional clarity. If it seems like nothing has come to a few of you, do your best now to pull through a symbol, a color, and an area of your body so that you understand where this is actually occurring. Ask the higher self-consciousness that's also present for any final downloads. Higher self, what is the final download that I need to understand? Am I complete? With that completion, if you got that you were not complete, please remember to go back to this exercise later. For those of you who now are ready and complete, our final assignment now is to go up to the high channel. Imagine you are going up to your own high channel. At this high vantage point, there's a large landscape. This large landscape is the new earth. We would like you to facilitate and collect any data or details that are being brought forward from the collective that is here today. If it seems like you're inserting the details, remember, dear one, you are. If it seems like you're viewing that which is wanting to be seen so that it can be so, acknowledge what you see so that it can birth a new earth. Remember, your breath will assist the light particles to actually particleize for vision to be seen. as pure consciousness witnessing this high channel space plane that exists, do any additional exploration on topics and places that you know you'd like to know if they are coming with us or not. If you go to look for it, it's not there. Sometimes we're also going to request that you put something new there. As you're perusing the landscape of New Earth, go ahead and work with one of your team of light guides. Pull them forward. From this team of light guide, please ask any additional questions for additional clarity. Anything else need to be known, team of light guide? Anything else need to be facilitated? Beautiful. Give thanks to your team of light guide, and if you're still gathering any additional channel downloads, please have them telepathically send it on an instant. Receiving the packets of light, for those of you who are not complete, let that integrate. Giving thanks to the team of light, we ask that the team of light spread out and hold space as we land. Deepen your breath as you guide your pure consciousness down your channel from the 12th plane to a plane that feels comfortable. It may stay there, it may merge into the all, but breathe into the avatar body, filling out all of the particles of light. The multidimensionality that you be for eternity has fully been acknowledged and made activate. Breathe into these light particles. Notice as you're getting back into the body fully, if anything looks different, feels different. Asking for full harmonization and integration. As you come all the way in, deepen the breath, begin to wiggle the body, acknowledging that you are indeed in the body and grounding in a new way. Your grounding cord is set as well. Set it by simply saying, set me in a new grounding point, a new grounding cord so that I hold the heaven on earth template. And when it feels right, begin to stretch the body. Stabilizing all energy centers. Integrating and upgrading now. Taking your hands to your thymus, if that feels right, or bringing your hands to the body to acknowledge that you are indeed in body. As you open your eyes, make your breath be a color. Giving the highest thanks. Thank you. Thank you.